Elevate your mind. Elevate your mind. Elevate your mind. Elevate your mind. You can do it, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, you can be it, you can be it, you can be it. You can do it, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, you can be it, you can be it, you can be it. Elevate your mind. Elevate your mind. Elevate your mind. Elevate your mind. It's the high-end theory. The high-end theory. It's the high-end theory. The high-end theory. I remember when I told myself I'ma do this one day. One day. Held on to my dreams really tight and never let them escape.
How's everybody doing? Welcome to the latest episode of Converse. And bear with me while I get the script open because my internet just crashed. Oh, that's terrible. All right. Time to elevate your mental universe with another Converse. Converse is a place where fascinating guests and myself, Mo Facts, fall back and let the conversation shine. Now that Don Oliver Davis, author of this script that I just murdered, is here with us, we can now converse. How you doing, Don?
I'm doing great, Mo. How about yourself?
I'm doing bad after I flubbed that whole intro, but that you help author. Well, you author most of it, and I just made some fine-tune adjustments. But that's why we have you here today, because of your awesome writing skills, and you're going to dive into your book a little deeper. And for people that don't know, you can find Don at, well, I don't even want to show. Here we go. You can find him here. I'm going to drop his link in the live chat. And you made a change to your name, I see on your channel, just so people don't be confused. It's now Worldview Warfighting.
Yes.
Which I think is very important, because we are in an information war. I think you would agree. There's
definitely.
And for the people that are just now catching on the playback, you can find his the link to his channel in the live chat. And more importantly, or equally importantly, not say more, is the book you can find on Amazon. An introduction to the art and science of Worldview Warfare. Don, that's my introduction of you. Please tell us what you got going on recently and what people can look forward to from you.
All right. Well, I'm going to be coming out with more content on the YouTube side, and I hope everybody will stay tuned for that. Please subscribe. If you're not subscribed to my man Mo Facts, please subscribe to him first. All right. So basically today, what we're going to do is we're going to go a little bit deeper into the things that my book fleshes out. Now, we're going to use an example that's not in my book. So this is going to be something that what I want to do is just apply my theories that's in the book to different type of examples, because I believe that it can stand up to the scrutiny. So just to go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of scrutiny, please let the people know, how many sources did you reference in this book or in writing this book? I think it's over 500, if I'm not mistaken.
It is just near 500.
Just near 500. Okay.
Yes, that's books, scholarly journals, pretty much maybe about 5 websites in the whole book. So this is real material. I'm not just going to Wikipedia on this.
So you did your own research. You know how they say about doing your own research now. They ridicule it, but you actually did do the work and putting this book together. Before we get started with the class, and I want to say class because this conversation or Converse episode is going to be more in a class style structure because it's such a scholarly work. Don's going to walk us through it. So if you have any questions, please hold them to very end of the show, I know we switched the format up, but we have such we're blessed with. Let me take that back. We're blessed with such a diverse group of guests on the show that you can't do everything into one format. And with that said, let me go ahead and start speaking to some people before you get started, Don. We have Eve that was in here first. She says salute more facts in the chat. She was in here early, 7:30. I hope she's still here. Next was Sophisticated. How you doing, brother? Next was Word of the Day. Then we get Scam Baiter X, Derek 405, Judy S is in the house. And I'm sure Andrea is not too far behind her because you know they rolling a pair. Sean M. And I think that's it for right now. So, but Judy S said Don did the old school card catalog research. I love it.
Most definitely.
And maybe we can have you come back and explain to those people that are born post internet what a card catalog is, because you know they have Google now where they just gotta type it in search engine.
That's right.
But with that said, and for the sake of time, I want to get you straight into it. So Don, you ready to take over and give us a well needed lesson in propaganda and worldview warfare?
Yes, sir.
All right. So
to get started, basically, we're going to be dealing with worldview warfare for this discussion. So just lay down few ground rules. So worldview warfare is all about cultivating and reinforcing worldviews that accomplish two things. One, we want to establish or expand one side's control of the battle space and undermine or prevent the other side's control of the battle space.
Mm-hmm.
So what is a worldview? A worldview is the set of core beliefs making up a person's conception of the self and the other on this most basic level. That's what a worldview is all about. Who am I versus who are you? Who everyone else in comparison to myself.
Mm-hmm.
All right. A worldview affects each and every person's inner life and their outer life. When I say inner life, I'm referring to things like their mind, outer, which we can't observe from the outside. Mm-hmm. Outer life are the things that we can observe, the words, the deeds. So worldview warfare is all about using weaponized deeds, words, and minds, and also spiritual heart, which is another part of the inner life. So what you see on the screen right now is I created a worldview war fighting architecture. Mm-hmm. And so what this is basically what you're seeing is one part of it. And so it's basically a conceptual model that lays out the definitions, the rules, and the relationships of the main components of worldview warfare. So we're going to be looking at 5 components today. And
so can I ask a question right there before you get any deeper? Because I just want to make sure, and I have to play, ask the questions for the live chat that they may have. One is, so the inner life and outer life. Let me get this straight. The inner life is how you perceive and your perceptions of things and how you feel about them, and your outer life is like the output of that the world sees. Am I understanding that correctly?
Well, okay. So the worldview itself at its basic level is a person's conception of themselves and the other. So the worldview affects the inner life and the outer life. So my conception of myself and others will affect how I think. It will also affect how I move in the world.
Okay. Oh, so you thoughts versus actions. I got it. And this is just the effect of how they reflect from your worldview being affected or altered.
Yeah, it is just showing the inner life, outer life is just thinking about, okay, worldview affects everything about us, the things that we can see, which is our words, our deeds, we could observe those, and our thought life, which is private to us, is still affected by the same worldview that we have.
Okay, so continue on. I just want to make sure we establish that, so because if you don't get your head around that, then it'll probably be hard to understand everything else that's going to follow.
Yes, so we're going to explore 5 components of my worldview warfighting architecture,
Mm-hmm.
just 5 today. And we're, the way in which we're going to do this is we're going to use a case study. So in this case study, we're going to focus on a painting by John Gast from 1872. And the
Mm-hmm.
name of this painting is called American Progress. So, yes, if you, okay. So this is the painting that we're going to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, 1 second, Mo.
No worries. And just to say, like, look, Don came so prepared that he came with his own slides. So, you know what I'm saying, I thank the brother for that. You know, he's a very thorough individual, and but he breaks complex ideas and systems down to something that's very into very consumable bites.
Yes, okay. As I thought I misplaced my notes. All right. So basically, this is what we're going to focus on. So every component, we're going to describe the component and then have a discussion around this piece right here. So the
Okay.
first component is Zeitgeist.
And I'm slow on the trigger. Sorry, brother. All right, there we
All
go.
right. So when we're dealing with the Zeitgeist, this is analyzing just in basic terms the when, the where, and the who of worldview warfighting. All right. So we're going to be dealing with the time and the location. It's going to narrow us down. We're going to hit on forms of inspiration. We're going to have natural inspiration and we're going to have supernatural inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is inspiring the zeitgeist? What is the inspiration behind the zeitgeist? The zeitgeist basically is a German word that refers to spirit of the age. So, what is the inspiration of a particular time and space? And then zeitgeist is kind of a very abstract, amorphous type of thing. It's kind of hard to pin down concretely. So one way we can measure the zeitgeist is by looking at ideological terms.
Mm-hmm.
So the ideological term that we are going to focus on is manifest destiny. So this picture, um, American Progress, when people say the term manifest destiny, this image oftentimes comes up. Now, the word itself, when we talk about natural inspiration, the word itself was coined by John O'Sullivan
Mm-hmm.
in the 19th century. Okay, so that is an aspect of the okay, so it come out in the summer issue of the United States Magazine and Democratic Review, because the concept of manifest destiny was first pushed by the Democrats
Okay.
pre-Civil War. After Civil War, the Republicans took it up and put their own spin on it. All
So
right.
I had to ask here: is this like Columbia or the Mother Goddess kind of representation here? Is that who she's portraying?
Exactly.
Okay.
So just a little background on the big the big woman there. That
Mm-hmm.
is Columbia. That is a the state, the government itself got behind this as the personification of America. It's based on both both Greek and Roman goddesses. Uh, I think Athena and
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the other one, but yes, it is. This gets us leaning towards the supernatural inspiration because these entities, they represented something, forces that were very real to the Greeks and Romans, that they personified in statues, which those statues and things like that is what the image of Columbia that you see there is based off of.
Yeah, and as we cover in the show, Lady Justice, she a lot of times they represent these figures with well, they conflate them or you know what I'm saying, into one being, or they're represented it across, they're represented across different cultures and times through different personifications as well.
Yes. So this picture in this picture or this image, you have the move into the Southwest, which was the first part of Manifest Destiny. The second part, post Civil War, then the Manifest Destiny would involve Hawaii and Alaska. Okay, so this sets the stage for the Zeitgeist. We are in the 19th century United States. We're going to be focusing primarily in the Southwest. Our ideological term is manifest destiny. All right, let's take a look at the next one. So, technique. With technique, we're analyzing the what. So, we got two main categories we're going to be thinking about at this level. At this level, we're going to be thinking about physical and non-physical technologies, and we're going to be talking about or thinking about culture. And the way I look at culture as being consisting of common culture and mystery culture, which we'll get into here in a second.
Okay.
So, what are the technologies that we are going to be taking into consideration here for Manifest Destiny? So let's all right. So we have mini ball bullets. Now, when I first looked at this, I was amazed to see how many technological advances or innovations came together at right around the same time in order for Manifest Destiny to really do something. So bullets, really close to how we know them today, they come about right around this time. Also, the cartridges, which are the percussion cap cartridges, which are the top middle. The percussion cap, that little area in the middle of the bullet in the back. Revolvers come on the scene, and they was busting their guns back in the day. Okay, so now we have a very portable, a much more portable type of gun come on the scene. We've got the steam innovation. We got the steam locomotive. We've got the steam ship. We have photography comes on the scene around this time. We've got typewriters that come on the scene around this time. This is very important for the information warfare aspect because people can produce things in their own homes, in their own communities. They don't have to have necessarily a printing press anymore. All right, we have the telegraph, which is basically like two typewriters, if you want to say it, or you typing on a typewriter and the message ends up in another place. So here we have the foundations for the electronic communication. And we also have the telephone that comes on the scene around this time. So all of these technologies come together to facilitate, to make it possible to have Manifest Destiny.
So I want to bring up 2 points before we move forward. One, during your research, did you find any commonality or anything as to why there was such a huge surge for it in technology at the same time? Because that's pretty significant, right? When you have all these.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
I mean, it is. It's incredible to think about all these things coming on the scene around the same time. And at this point, I would say that would be food content for a much deeper analysis.
Okay.
But let's just say some people, powerful people, were very much working together because this is the extension of imperialism coming out of Europe. This is the American version of that, and they're they have allies or people that they communicate with in Europe, and these groups are working together on different projects that have the same end goal.
And are we sure that they're all people?
That's where the that's where the supernatural inspiration
Uh,
aspect comes in.
okay, I just wanted to say just how we do
Yes.
around here, and then the other question I had was this reminds me of that meme where you have the stone, then you have the bullet, then the rocket or the missile, and then you have the syringe
Hmm.
representing the Vaseline. So this is what popped in my head when I start to think about this, because that shows maybe a timeline of weaponry and maybe a cross section across different zeitgeists. So I mean that's what came to my mind. That's what this image inspired
Well,
here.
yeah. I mean, a parallel to that would be the coming in the next century would be the television and radio and things like that, which would the Nazis would use to really show the world the power of information warfare. But
Mm-hmm.
the Americans had a good head start on them with the telegraph and the telephone and the photograph. So
Okay.
let's go to the next one. All right. So when I speak about culture, I'm speaking about 7 pillars that are found within the civilizations around the world. These 7 pillars: art, religion, law, politics, science, economics, and philosophy. Now,
Mm-hmm.
common culture would be what we normally think of when we think about art and religion and things like that. Mystery culture is it's like a mirror world, but they have their own way of doing. So this will become sacred art, sacred science, mystery religion, sacred law or divine law, deep politics, shadow economics, first philosophy. So these are things that you probably have some sort of familiarity with. Let's just say if you live in a town where or a city where there might be one or many buildings that they're called temples or churches without windows, and,
Okay.
and people that gather at these places, and sometimes under the cover of night, and they
Mm-hmm.
use very interesting handshakes and symbols, tokens to
So,
interact with each other.
so you're
That
saying fraternal orders, basically. You're saying these fraternal orders that you're saying go, and we like to say. I'm just gonna say it. I know you did probably want to say it, but I don't mind. I don't know if you mind me saying it. But we talking about the Masonic like, and I don't want to pile on the Masons because
yes,
they don't want to take all the blame, but there are many fraternal orders out here, as we discussed in the Justice for Juicy episode. But they share similar, I guess, mystery culture. That's what bonds
exactly.
them. Okay,
That
okay.
that's what binds them, and so it makes like since we could use the Masonic order, uh,
Mm-hmm.
just think about how these things are today, and we can compare them to ancient times, the Greek and Roman times, which Freemasonry and other groups, especially in the West, they're gonna trace back, or they're gonna try to place their history connected with Greece and Rome. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So in ancient Greco-Roman culture, you had mystery schools where different type of people. You had some for soldiers. They were under the auspices of Mithras, if you've heard of that deity. That was more for the military type of people. Then you had different ones for people that were elites. If you've ever heard of Dionysus and they have the wild parties like raves and they get naked and it'll be a lot of wild stuff going on. So you had those type of mystery schools, just for something for everybody, basically, which is kind of like it is today.
And I see subgroups in this when I see art, religion, and philosophy probably go together. Economics and maybe science would go together, or you're saying law? No, excuse me, politics and law would go together. So you're gonna have subgroups form in these mystery groups, right, around their whatever pillar they subscribe to the most.
Yeah, whatever their focus is, whatever their focus is. So you had the right idea. Like the core of culture, as I see it, is religion, politics, and economics. That's the core. And so that's where the most power is going to be. And I'm not saying that art isn't powerful. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, if you want to investigate these things, if you just go straight to where religion, politics, and economics, you could like really get to some juicy info real fast if you focus on those three.
Okay.
All right. So the next slide, let's apply what we just talked about back to this picture. All right. So we see the technologies. You see the Columbia in her hand. She has the wire for the telegraph in her hand.
Oh, is that what that is? I mean,
yes.
If you see it stretching from her, I guess that'll be her left hand.
Yes.
To and her right hand, it's a little thin. I'm just explaining to people that may be seeing it on a smaller device. Go ahead, continue on. Oh, now I see it because it's coming from the pole there. You know what? Many times I've seen this, and we were saying when we were putting this together, I never saw that. But if you notice the last telephone pole on the right-hand side of the picture, and then it's the cable that goes up through her hand, her left hand, and then it goes up to her right hand. Is that a telephone or something?
That's a book. So I believe that is a reference to the mystery knowledge, like the first philosophy, because Columbia is holding this. And think about it. Electricity was not something that was just everybody common. This was something new. People associated electricity with the spiritual world almost. A lot of these technologies, like radio, things like that, come from people trying to do experiments to interact with the spirit world. So a lot of these technologies were deeply associated with the spirit world.
So that's like when Brother Theo shouts us to unplug them, talk about the spirit of the air. This is the kind of thing there. It's not just in an allegorical sense. These entities may have power and information that affects technology as well. Is that correct to assume?
Yes, you can approach that, because especially when you get into electromagnetics and things like that, the electromagnetic spectrum and how all that stuff works, it definitely is a realm in which we can communicate and other entities can also communicate. All right. So we have the train, the steam locomotive. We got a couple of them there coming out of the east. You see the sun rising in the east. That represents the East Coast, the cities that were being built. As we go over to the west, we see in the background behind Columbia, we see the rock representation of the Rocky Mountains. So we're approaching that area. See, they're running off the buffalo. Are those buffalo or bison? I think I'm not sure.
Is there a difference? I mean, like, no, I'm asking like legitly. I thought buffalo and bisons were like just terms that were used interchangeably. So I'm probably wrong. I would bet.
Don't know.
I'm just curious. I mean, like you brought up a whole other thing, but yeah, I continue. So, I see him, but you can see him on the left hand side. There's the herd of bison mid picture of the left hand side.
Yes, and You see right underneath the wire loop of Colombia, you see a group of native people. They're doing that, they like have some sort of little encampment there. So the settlers are pushing out. They're driving out. Okay. The native people are getting pushed on further out. All
Mm-hmm.
right. Colombia is kind of like a protector in a way. She's clearing the path.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So yeah, we have those technologies. And again, think about the politics involved in this. Think about the money, the big time families that will become the powerful ruling families of the United States. They're the ones that laid down this uh telegraph line. They're the ones that laid down or financed the laying down of those railway lines.
Mm-hmm.
So big money interest here. All
I
right.
see the stagecoach as well.
Yes, yes. So different forms of travel. The older
Mm-hmm.
form mixed with the new form.
Because
Okay.
that could represent to me. I'm just going to tell you what I'll take for quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You have a representation of multiple different socio-economic levels. Because you have the stagecoach, you know what I'm saying, in the rear of the picture, the covered
Right.
wagon. Then you have no, excuse me. Then you have the stagecoach in the center, the red. That's more of wealth.
You're right.
And then in the forefront, you have people traveling on foot.
Exactly. That's a good
Okay.
observation. And even it just came to my memory.
Mm-hmm.
The logo for Wells Fargo is a stagecoach, kind of like that red one there.
It is. I mean, now that you mentioned that, right?
Yep.
But they're all being led by Colombia.
Yes. So you have mystery culture there that is like caricaturized in a way through this massive huge being, but something is going on there that's not exactly what it seems to be.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is how technique got our culture at work here. We got our technologies at work here. And so let's move on to the next one.
It's one more thing I want to bring up before we continue on, just as a, you know what I'm saying, because I've seen this picture, you know what I'm saying, maybe 100 times since you
Mm-hmm.
sent it to me, but now that you broke it down to me, Columbia herself is like the light. She's bringing in the light,
Yeah, she's
which
she's illuminated in a way.
the light bearer is another name for that is Lucifer.
Exactly.
Okay, I want to make sure we we didn't gloss over that it's
Yeah.
clear that the light is traveling with her. Now the light is illuminating her, but it definitely could be, you know, saying representation of that as well. But I want to hold you up, but continue on. Going to the next slide. Propaganda. All right, here we are.
All right. So and that's a good observation, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So propaganda is like the most infamous aspect of worldview warfare. It's probably the aspect that people are most familiar with out of all these components. So with propaganda, you have sub propaganda, which consists of myths and conditioned reflexes, which sub propaganda is kind of sitting in the background at all times.
Mm-hmm.
What moves people at a particular time is called active propaganda. There's different types of active propaganda, but I pretty much categorize them as it's either agitative or integrative. Agitative is fighting, strife, things like that. Integration is let's all come together. Let's unify around something that the propagandists want us to unify around.
Mm-hmm.
Agitation, let's fight about something that the propagandist wants us to fight about.
So how does this play into the order out of chaos? Because the way you just broke that down, it seems like the chaos is the agitation to bring on the order, which is the integration.
Okay, let's go to the next slide. We can break that propaganda down in the context of manifest destiny. So
Okay.
for some agitation, I would say the look at that those group of native people that are above the bear.
Yeah, I see
Yeah.
them.
Now there's some there. This is not like they just taking a walk. These people are in panic mode. There's something going on to drive them out. That's the whole agitation. So for the target audience of this, which would be the Americans per se, the ones that are pushing out, that are expanding the darkness. The darkness is associated with the wild, the untamed, things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
the native people are part of that wild. That's why they were called savages. They were untamed, they were uncivilized. And so that's the agitative aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then for integration, we have the Americans participating together in the creation of a new world. We're breaking up. If you see in the lower right hand corner, they're breaking up the ground, that wild ground, that uncultivated land. They're breaking it up and they're
Mm-hmm.
working together to build something new. Now, for the sub propaganda, with the myth, for example, we have the myth of a racial utopia taking place right here. For the conditioned response, we have the group survival response. Now, for a long time before Manifest Destiny jumped off, there was at least a generation of people in America that had they called it they call it wanderlust. And what it was this feeling that people, especially the young men, had. And of course, most of these guys, they got guns. All right.
Okay.
The whole idea is what's out there. Think about all the people coming. There was a lot of poor people. Actually, the owning land, big huge sign of wealth. The powerful people came over, split the land up amongst themselves, divvied pieces of it out to the poor people to work it, and told them there was this idea: if we can go west, we can get away from these rich elites and we can build our own thing and we can become elite ourselves. So this was something that drove young men. Just think about it. You got a wife, a kid. It's hard. They might not have any work, employment, working on a farm. Who knows how that's gonna work out? How about me and my boys, we go west. We stake our claim or something. Then we'll be like George Washington, them huge landowners.
Right. And that's just a human. That's human, right? Though,
It
because
is.
as children, we wander, and I think for people that want to know, that's wanderlust. That's WANDERLUST. And I also
Yeah.
put the definition or the meaning in the live chat for people watching the playback.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And so, it's not as if, listen, the thing about propaganda is it taps into what's already inside. It doesn't necessarily put something in so much as exploit what's already there and channel it in a way that the propagandist wants it to be channeled.
Let me make sure I understand what you're saying. So what you're saying is we have these the ability to respond in certain ways, and they know how to trigger us.
Yes, that is definitely part of it. But we're
Okay.
actually going to touch into that in the next couple slides because there's so let's go to the next slide.
Okay.
So, wicked deception. Now, wicked deception is the venom that makes propaganda work. All right, it's the
Mm-hmm.
how. Truth intermixed with lies. All right, the communication, the point is engage the mind, all right, through the different senses and things like that to get to the inside of the person, their spiritual heart. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get more into what wicked deception is, let me just give you a comparison. Righteous deception. All right. For an example of righteous deception, we can look in the scripture.
Okay.
1 Samuel 16. All right. This is the part of Israel's history when there needs to be, God wants a new king. Saul is the king. This is going to be the rise of David. Now, Saul put out an edict. Everybody knows Saul doesn't want any competition. Anybody trying to come up or ordain, because that's what the prophets did. They said, okay, God's hand is on this person, and this person will select a king because God's hand is on them. So here's the thing: deception in and of itself, I would say, it can be used for different ends. All right. So for righteous deception, what do we have? So Samuel is worried. God wants him to go and anoint David king.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, Saul, I don't want to get killed, basically. How am I going to do this? So God tells him, go into the town. When the people ask about what you're doing, you tell them that you're here to do a minor ritual. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell them about David. Just do it. So what does he do? He goes into the town. The people are like, man, the prophet's here. You know, they respect this dude. They're like, what are you doing here? What's going on? I just want to perform this ritual. This a part of our tradition. Why don't you join me? Happened to be one of David's dad. And it had him, yes, come, you bring your sons, other people from the community. So all the guys are there, the important people. The person who was supposed to be anointed is not there. Do you have any more sons? Samuel asked. Yeah, I got this youngest son. He's out in the pasture, though, tending sheep. He's just a little kid. Samuel says, fetch the boy. That boy was David. Samuel ordained David to be king.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's a righteous deception. It was not necessary. I mean, the people didn't know what he was doing. He didn't let them know that he was there to anoint a new king and avoid retribution from Saul. All right, so let's go over to the wicked side. All right, so we mixing truth with lies. So we want to act, like I said, we want to access the spiritual heart through the mind's processing of speech, images, sensations, so on and so forth. So here's the truth in this. The truth is, a new empire was rising at the time. The truth is, there was a tradition, like we just discussed, of wanderlust.
Mm-hmm.
Americans were inching westward. The system, the state, the government of America was behind this move. This is American imperialism. It was really happening. That was true. Now, the lie, let's go to the next slide to show you. The lie was, and this hooks up into something really old, and something I refer to, or not just me, but it's called the great work. Part of this great work is building a utopia. And so what the lie was that, again, we have this racialized utopia in America, and they said that it was made to seem as if the reason why we are, as Americans, spreading out westward is due to us being as God men. In this particular American sense, the racially superior, and we're going to reestablish Edenic peace and prosperity on our own terms. All right.
So stop you right there, because when you think about just on the surface level, when you hear manifest destiny, it's them saying we're ordained by God,
Exactly.
and it's our destiny to go spread the word. Let's just call it the word. Now we know that was the Christian word. That was the, like you said, the science, the philosophy. Then it was really enlightenment is what they were trying to spread.
Right.
Or not the textbook enlightenment. That comes later with the founding fathers, but just we're a higher, like I say, a higher thinking being. And I
Yes.
guess that's what you mean, the man God. How you said it? What was that term again? You said
The God man.
the God man. Okay.
Yes. So in a particular American sense, the God man took on the form of the racially superior. But if you go to ancient Egypt, for example, the God man took on a different form. And all these major civilizations, the God man is there. It just has different codes on different social appearance based on whatever civilization it's in. But it's this kind of unified message of reestablishing an Edenic peace and prosperity. That's where he talks about in the quote there. Now, this is the guy that coined the term manifest destiny. And he spoke about providence, and that's capitalized. There's divine, there's like a supernatural power behind this. That's where that idea started to come from. This particular quote that O'Sullivan put out: the liberty,
Okay.
the federated self-government. These things today that a lot of groups might be pushed more with the right wing now. They're always talking about this, and the founding fathers in a way are deified. This is the American civil religion. This is some of the foundation and roots of it right here.
Okay.
So we've got a few things going on. Let's go to the next slide. So now we're back here at Manifest Destiny again. All right. We got incentives on different levels. We've got the material level with material wealth. All right, the land, the resources, animals, things like that. We have on the physical level or the corporeal level, we have sexual conquest. All right.
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen with those women, those native women, once those guys are neutralized?
They're gonna be civilized.
Exactly. So
that's their justification, right? They're gonna we have to civilize
exactly
the savage.
Exactly. So that's the incentive to move now. That's the incentive to move. This was why I have that's why me and my boys are going west. We want money. We want women. Another incentive was technical education. At this part of history, there started to be a rise in technical education. What is this? This is the old version of what we saw in our lifetimes with everything's going digital, get into IT. The rulers they have certain goals that they want to achieve. So they open up educational opportunities for the people, the masses, to engage and participate in those things.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, that's when you start to see the rise of technical education. This was happening in Europe as well.
But if you see in this picture, it's represented, and this is why I talk about memes. When we talk about memes, people think it's just silly pictures. It's when you can represent all the ideas is captured in this one image.
Yes.
And I'm gonna go to the technical advances. If you notice, you have the trains. You have, you know what I'm saying, just the wheels itself. I mean, you see the Indians have like their horse dragging some lady, and over here we have wheels.
Yes.
And then in the background you have, you have the ships. That's representing another form of technology, as you pointed out, for people just now showing up. Colombia is carrying the telegraph wire, which, to be honest, that was just as important as the trains, if not more, because you could move information at the speed of, at a
speed of
speed that you
light.
never, that you never seen before. That
Yep.
it used to have to be hand carried. Now with the invention of the telegraph and Morse code, you could translate so much information. And then the domestication of the beast, because you notice the bison and the buffalo are running wild on the left hand side, but
Mm-hmm.
on the right hand side they have domesticated the oxen. You know what I'm saying, to work for them. So it's all of this is
Mm-hmm.
represented in one picture, and now you understand why I harp on the importance of in the information war having memes, because this is a meme, whether you realize it or not.
Yes, sir. And so the third level, again, we from material, the corporeal, the mental with the technical education. Again, people had to know how to lay down that railway. There was a knowledge, education, and went down to operating the telegraph, to laying the line. All that took a certain education. All right.
Can
Uh,
you answer one question for me? I don't think it's been. You might have said it, but just I see a quick question in the live chat that I
mhm.
think it'd be pertinent to answer. When was this picture created?
This picture comes
Or
from.
I know you had mentioned it
Yeah,
before, but I want to make sure we get that. So we have the timeline.
it's an 1872 painting.
1872, folks. All right, appreciate it. Now continue
Yes.
on. I just want to make sure we can establish and that. So the quote that you just referenced, let's go back one more time, predates even the image.
Yes. That's when the manifest destiny itself as a term, that guy, O'Sullivan, it really got popular in 1845. So
Uh huh.
the ideological term predated the propaganda piece by about 20, what's that, 20 years? 20 or
Okay.
so years. Yep.
Yeah, almost 30. I mean, right, what, 27 years.
Mm-hmm.
So just think that how fast that idea took hold.
Right.
Going from, 1845 to 1872, this idea went from this quote to this
Right.
actual being represented, in artwork.
That's right. And so O'Sullivan is not really well known because he kind of fell into obscurity. Again, the Democrats picked this up first and ran with it. And then after the Civil War, the Republicans went hard with it. So for the last level of incentive is on the spiritual level. And here at
I hate
this.
to keep stopping you, brother, but you dropping so much truth. I got to go back for a minute because when
Mhm.
you said about the Democrat and Republicans, I
Yeah.
don't want to miss this chance. Where was it at? It was one of your slides where you were talking about the it was about the divide. It was, hold on, I think it was, where was it at? It was about the integration and agitation. So
Okay.
you have the left hand side and the right hand side, just on the just say Democratic and Republican side, seem like they're battling, but they both integrated under this idea eventually.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay,
They
I
they
just want I'm what I'm doing is I'm catching this now as you saying it, and I want to point it out to people, not only in theory but how it's being seen in actual application.
yes.
Okay, continue on. We pick up here. We're at Columbia. Back to Columbia now.
Okay. So I'm talking about the incentives and how wicked deception works. So there must be an incentive. So again, material incentive, the money, physical, the corporeal incentive, sexual conquest, mental, to receive a technical education. Uh, on the spiritual level, I would put fame there because fame is our best as humans, our best approximation of immortality. Immortality being something that's in the divine realm,
Mm-hmm.
an attribute of God. All right. So by becoming famous, by becoming one of the guys on the frontier, we still speak about some of these guys. All right. So we know that they attain fame. All right. So that's the closest we have to achieving immortality because our name lives on.
And
So,
you saw that in Beowulf. That was the whole. Even that's an old idea. It's like,
mhm,
in Beowulf, that was a whole thing about him creating a legend so he could be remembered.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, all right. So we have incentives. of wicked deception. We have the intention. Now, I'm not gonna say I can't say all these guys were psychos. Look, some of these guys were just like, we want to build a nation. Okay. I want to provide for my family. Why can't I just try to get a little wealth something I could pass down to my kids? All right. And then we had some of the people that were more nefarious. That brings us to complicity. All right. This is where the spiritual heart comes in. Remember, I said that the point through these messages is to get through the mind, we access the spiritual heart. And at this point, this is where what's inside of us is brought out. So the greed, lust, arrogance, malice, all of these things are going to be brought out now. So now there's an opportunity to act on what was already inside of us. I'm greedy, but I'm broke. Now I have a chance to act on that. Okay, I'm lustful, but I can't get no girls. Hey, we're gonna take these, we're gonna neutralize these savages. We got us some girls. All right. And the malice, okay. Somebody might not have power to act on their malice, but now with this, they can. All right.
And I'm gonna say this just so before we move on. When you said it about taking over the savages and things of that nature, or whoever's left, quote unquote, that's not my term. Right. That's how the conquerors or colonizers or how you want to refer to them saw the people that were in quote unquote the unenlightened. They saw them as savages, but it's the same mentality like this to this day, right? When we go to the third world, we see actually people traveling to the third world, and say it's appropriate for them to enjoy the spoils of the third world due to their position of privilege over those people that inhabit the third world. When you see people traveling to the Dominican Republic and other places for sexual conquest. Did we lose Don? I think I knocked the socks off, folks.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking on
oh no, I thought I had blew your mind. But
all right, so we see both sides with that example you gave. It's so good to show you how it is complicity and it works, because nobody would be innocent in that case, even though the third world girl is poor. She doesn't have to do that.
Right.
Okay, so she's acting on her greed. And then you have the guy, the first world, John. What is he acting on? He's acting on his lust.
Right.
Okay. So these things are already inside of us. Sometimes we just don't have the opportunity to really act on it. And propaganda is all about timing. When opportunity arises, act, go. All right. How? By tapping in, by using wicked deception, but it's not like these people are stupid. They're not stupid. They're complicit in it. Okay. You also have native people that work with them. Okay. Some native people, for their own reasons, they had beef with another native tribe, so they work with the Americans to push their enemy native tribe away. Okay. All right. So when analyzing these things, okay, when analyzing worldview warfare, one of the things that you'll notice is that you're engaged with worldview warfare yourself, because let's go to the next slide.
Now we're here to the why. I mean, because we went through, just for people that's showing up, we went through the who, the what, the when, and the where, and now we're coming to the why. Okay, now here we go.
Yes. So why do we have this worldview warfare? This particular type of worldview warfare? It's because the whole point is to get the target audience to have their life be centered on self gratification, self glorification on the individual level. All right. On the collective level, what we see is this world system that we're dealing with. It just continues because once a person is just centered on gratifying themselves or glorifying themselves, what they end up doing is they perpetuate the oppression of the righteous and the weak because they don't care about the weak, and the righteous are like the righteous are a thorn in their side because they look at the righteous and the righteous make them feel some kind of way. Okay, so
I have to keep giving what I had to tell you what I'm hearing, just so you saying you can vet it if it's correct or not. So, for instance, how people get so irritated and irate with believers that don't want to partake in the Vaseline.
Yes.
They say, "How dare you?" You know what I'm saying? And with a people person like, I'm leaning on faith, and that only incensed the people because we won't subscribe to their religion of science. Is that an astute observation?
Yes, it is. And so
okay.
it goes a step further than just being angry. It goes to, well, I don't care if they die. I don't care what happens to them. What if we start moving like Australia, where people can be arrested for not wearing masks, or people can be put into camps for not having a vaccination? Well, guess what? Those people that look at those people going off to the camp, I don't care about them. I hope they never get out of that camp.
It's for the greater good.
Yes.
It's destiny. It's destiny for them to be, if that's what they chose. It's their destiny.
So that just perpetuates this predatory world system that we have. You know, when I say world system, it's like the problem of evil. This really ancient philosophical problem or issue. Why do good things happen to bad people? Why do bad things happen to good people? This problem. Why? Because we're in this world system. It's insecure. It's predatory. The strong survival of the fittest. Might makes right.
So, man, you lighten all kind of synapses up in my brain right now. So this is also when you couple this with the predestiny, things are this is all preordained by God, and they're saying nobody really has free will kind of thing. So my musket ball was meant to go through that savage's head because that's what God ordained. You know, so who am I? You know, or us to take their land or expose them to smallpox and all kind of other diseases. You know, it was meant to be. It was preordained. But then you see religion starting to shift where they went away from being preordained to, you know, everybody has a choice. But I just want to point out that struggle that even persists to this day in the system of religion.
Yes, and it's good. I'm glad you pointed that out because that is a similarity between Protestantism and Islam.
Mm-hmm.
So the way the Protestants moved across the land in manifest destiny, the Muslims moved across northern Africa, subjugating it to Islam.
For the caliphate.
Enslaving everybody, castrating all the men, making sexual slaves out of the women and the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
got it.
Because this was all preordained. You were preordained to be a slave.
Okay. I'm with you.
Right. Okay. So this is how religion is used. This is why I go back to religion, politics, economics. If you focus on that religious aspect, you'll arrive at predestination. Heavy in Protestantism, especially Calvinism, which Protestantism was the religious bedrock of the country. Some Catholicism, but mostly Protestantism. All right.
Right. So, and they even said that's why they were here, you're saying, looking for this landmass, is to find a home for their, you're saying, their religion.
Right. That's right. So they were being used on a level, because then you have the great work, which was ancient, which predates Protestantism, all right, which is what the people in those mystery schools from Europe, that's their idea that they had in mind. So they used the religious, I guess you could say, religious warriors, just like in Islam, you have the religious warriors that blow themselves up, but the leaders in the temple and the mosque, they're not blowing themselves up. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I didn't want to throw you off track, but it was saying like when you light these thoughts up in my head, I want to say them. That way we can get some real world context to what you're saying.
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay, so
we're going back to Manifest Destiny now.
Well, yeah, we kind of talked about it already, but you could show it.
Once again, for the people that understand, for the image, if you're just now getting here, this is the image that we've been referring to, which is nothing but an OG meme from 1872, and it follows the initial, not even initial, but one of the early references in 1845 of Manifest Destiny.
Right, and so with this last component, revolution, what you have here is you see the perpetuation of this predatory, insecure world system. Just so happened to be the Americans are the one perpetuating it in this landmass before the Americans came. There were other groups that were mighty and took over weaker groups and wiped them out and had something to give their kids. In Europe, centuries of war between the Europeans, people getting subjugated, people getting enslaved by their own people to build something to pass down to their kids. This cycle of predatory behavior just continues.
But we're seeing it today. That's what Build Back Better and the Great Reset is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like we have to get rid of the old way of thinking, the old way of commerce, economics, the old world of science, petrol, fuel and fossil fuels, and step into the new, into the enlightened world. So exactly. And that's why this is important. People might say, "Oh, this is a history." No, this is not a history lesson. I always say this: it's not a history lesson, because if you pay attention to history, you can either see what's going on now or what is to come. So that's why it's so great to have this brother Don Oliver Davis here, and he's doing a breakdown of just a piece of what you will find in his book. But continue on, Don.
All right, so let's go to the step
levels.
The levels. All right, so we're dealing with worldview warfare, worldview war fighting. There are different levels. You have the individual level that I pointed to earlier, self-glorification, self-gratification. You have the collective level, the sum total of these things coming together to perpetuate this insecure, predatory world system. But the world system is not simply a social system. It's a system of social and spiritual authority. There is a superhuman level to the world system. Okay, that is kind of alluded to with Colombia. All right. Now, when you think about worldview warfare, you have to engage with worldview warfare yourself. When you try to analyze it, it's like you look into a mirror in a way, and you have to deal with your own worldview. So let's go to the next step. The next slide.
Okay.
So
Technique.
Oh
no, that's an old Red Fox joke. Oh, but yeah, okay. Technique.
All right. So if you see, Zeitgeist and Revolution are kind of dimmed out here, and Wicked Deception isn't even there. This is the world. This is the system we would be looking at, or you would be looking at, if you didn't believe in the supernatural. Okay, so when analyzing worldview warfare, one can be limited or helped by their own worldview. So,
and for people that can't see, because it might be hard to see on your smaller, the Zeitgeist and the Revolution are grayed out. and he's saying you only operate in the two modes of technique and propaganda.
Well, what I say is that they're grayed out. They're slightly there because it's limited. You don't have any supernatural inspiration in the zeitgeist. All you're just doing is looking at a place and time, and social cohesion, those sort of factors. In technique and propaganda, we can analyze those, but we don't know. We can't really analyze the how, which is wicked deception, because we even have to worldview. We even have to have a concrete view of the truth. If my truth and your truth are okay and they're all relative, then we can't do a rigorous analysis because there's no basis. There's no transcendent basis of truth. Okay, so that's
there's
why
no home point. If you don't have a home point, you're saying you can't get. You're saying as far as where you're at.
Right. So that's why if you look at the literature on propaganda, and this is what I was looking at when I was writing my book, Propaganda Theories, you see that many of them just try to avoid the issue of morality. They try to say that propaganda is neutral. You could use it for good, you could use it for bad. Then it's like you can't really define it. Propaganda becomes everything. And no, what I say is propaganda is bad. There's no good propaganda. I put a moral. I make a stance. All
Why?
right.
Why? I'm just got to play being the contrarian. Why?
Yeah.
Why do you feel that way? That because I'm gonna say, hey man, hey look, I'm creating propaganda for the Lord. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what's wrong with that, Don? Not me personally, but when a person comes, the contrarian says that to you. Why is propaganda bad?
Because of wicked deception. Because you need that wicked deception as the hook. You can't come just with the truth. You can't use the truth.
But
Because
Don, I'm just look. It's gonna be for the greater good. So I mean, if I just manipulate people a little bit, just nudge them a little bit, it'll be all right?
Well, that would go back to worldview. Greater good in the context of what? Greater good in the context of me and you, your team, my team, or in the context of eternity.
But Don, 14 days of flatten the curve, turning into 2 years. It's a few days different, but on the backside of this, we're gonna be better, right? So I mean, it was a necessary evil.
Well, are we really better?
No, I'm just saying. That's what I'm saying. That's how they gonna come to you, though, right?
Yeah. I'm just playing along. I was just
right,
playing
right.
along.
I know.
Yeah. But yeah, man. I mean, so when you're looking at these things, if you yourself don't believe in the supernatural, the reality, a supernatural reality, the way you engage in worldview analysis is going to reflect that, and you're gonna miss some things. All right, so let's go to the last, which is.
And before you can move off the slide, I just want to say I agree that propaganda is bad because what it is a spell that somebody mentioned in the live chat, and when you work witchcraft, is control. You're seeking to control somebody else by triggering them or nudging them with information to control how they think, and that's where we get into the dark area of witchcraft because it's nothing but control.
That's right. And before you go, that revolution aspect, I didn't explain why that's grayed out. It's because we dealing with revolution. You're dealing with, again, this problem of evil. Okay, so if there's no supernatural, then evil is redefined as either some unpopular way of thinking or unpopular behavior. So what you end up saying is thought control and population control. Okay. These evil people, the evil is personified. So you have people that will say, those people, something is wrong with those people. Things would be better if those people weren't around. I get rid of those people.
The spirit. Look, the story of our lives, Don. The story of our lives. We know how that go.
Oh yeah. So that's what you're left with. All right, because there's no transcendent basis of good. All right, so let's go to the last. The last slide is basically just that is those 5 components for this particular aspect of worldview warfare, taking into account the natural, the physical, the mental, the spiritual, everything's there. That's it, brother.
All right, so now, you know what I'm saying, what we like to do is open up the questions to the Facts family. I appreciate everybody hanging around and following this format. As you can see, while we changed the format up a little bit, because this is such a collegiate level understanding of, of propaganda that, it's important that we didn't throw people off. So I saved some of the question comments, so we'll go through those, and then after that we'll jump down and get to the understand the questions live. So let me go ahead and scroll down, and it will help if you do add more facts that way I can see them pretty easily. But let's get to the old ones. Word of the day said Jack Parsons. I think you were talking about this when you were talking about Dianetics and Diana and those kind of things. I think that's what he was referencing there.
Well, okay.
No, go ahead. I'm just going to throw it out there. And you just make comments as you see fit until we get to the live questions.
Well, Jack Parsons, the guy, rocket scientist, deeply involved in the occult, doing all kind of now this is one of the things we talk about these technologies coming from. Now, Jack Parsons, I don't believe he was formally educated. I might be wrong, but this guy, he come out with some very serious inventions, and he even attributed to engaging with that realm. He got information out of that realm. This guy is like the father of rocket science. When people use the term, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. This is the dude.
Right. So, I'm a subscriber to that, a lot of this high level science comes from the occult. It's maybe forbidden knowledge or hidden knowledge. You said, depending on how you look at it, and they're able to somehow access that knowledge and then bring it into the physical world. So I'm on board with that belief.
Yes. Now, from the biblical perspective, that's where the Book of Enoch comes in. That's pretty much what the Book of Enoch talks about.
Okay.
Yep.
So we got Judy S. She said, "I see Earth as a land of Oz, and once we see that the wizard is a scared dude, then we are ready to make a spiritual advancement." You want to touch on that, or just? That's a pretty heavy comment. Let's see. Let's keep going on. So we gotta get to the live ones. Sean M says, so she's connecting communication technology of that era, and I think he's referring to like Elon and his satellites. I think he's referring to Columbia and the phone cable.
Yeah.
Sean M said Buffalo aren't native to North America, and then Natasha said buffalo are bison. So we got to get to some consensus there. Somebody can clear that up for us. Let's go ahead and get to the live questions now. There was one more. Oh, Natasha, she said once again. She says, "Why use propaganda? The truth should always be enough." And I think that's where you were coming from as well, right?
Well, yeah, because if you don't want to mislead somebody, then yeah, use truth. But if you come to somebody with, what they say, moving with these bad intentions, then you want to use propaganda, because you don't really want the people to know why they're doing what they're doing, really, because you're using them.
Yeah, I'm on board with you. So I think that's what she was saying. Hello, Andre, how you doing? And then one last comment. Primordial Soup says, "Thanks, Donald O. Davis, for your time tonight and information. And just a reminder, his book is available. I'm gonna drop that in the live chat one more time. You can find it on Amazon and his YouTube channel. So let's get to some of these questions. Question here from Connor Lawrence. He says, Don, are you familiar with the situation of the Ukrainian church and the schism between the Greeks and Russians? Any thoughts? Seems like worldview warfare in the church.
Yeah, and that's very timely because of what's happening now in Ukraine. So, yeah, you have, I think, you even have evidence of intelligence services working within the church, and for a long time, many years. This is not just the Ukrainian church, but throughout Europe. And yeah, I mean, just look at the Greeks and the Russians. What do you have there? The Greeks, the West, the Russians, the East. So yeah, this East-West split, and Ukraine is right in the crosshair.
Okay, now we got another question here from Manila Gorilla Grape Ape. Mo Facts, did you all touch on the PR industry, public relations? Great book, Toxic Sludge is Good for You, breaks it all down. So public relation and propaganda used to be synonymous, right? Up in I think PR was coined by what's the guy that did the freedom stick torches of freedom? Bernays. I think Bernays is the one that changes it to public relations, right?
Well, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken,
much.
I mean, correct me. I mean, I'm not going to lean on saying not put you on the spot like that because I don't remember myself, but I know around that time they shift from propaganda because that became a dirty word to public relations.
Well, yeah, because these technology, worldview warfare, and I refer to it as a technology of sorts. These type of things come out of the military. So the military were using this, especially when you get up in the post World War II. The what happened with Nazi Germany, how they were using propaganda and the things that they accomplished through that. Then over here in the United States as well, we had I would say, much better propaganda mechanism even before World War II. And so, yeah, after World War II, this stuff started to be applied through technical education. Okay, people could go to school, start learning about public relations. In the past, it wasn't like that. Okay, because we have these technological advances, the rulers are doing something new. So yeah, PR is a thing now.
Okay, and then I think Magilla Gorilla Grape Ape answered it, said Bernays, yep, to the one that coined it as being public relations from propaganda. I've got a question for Rod 3000 ish. He says, who painted this or had this painted? And I think he's referring to the Manifest Destiny picture. If I can find it right quick, I'll put it on the screen. But do you know the artist who painted that image? Let me see right here.
John Gast.
John Gast? Is that Gast?
Yes.
Okay, John Gast, Rob.
And the title is American Progress.
Okay, and he said who had this painting. Do we know if it was commissioned by anybody? Is that maybe a question that we can answer later? Or if somebody in the live chat can help us out if it was actually commissioned. I'm not sure
about that.
Cause that'd be good. That'd be interesting to know if it was, oftentimes the artist is just the creator, but who commissioned them to do the work. All righty. Chris P says, good book about Jack Parsons is Sex and Rockets. Thank you for that. Speaking on the Parsons tip, you're saying he's pretty popular tonight. Parsons studied under Crowley with L. Ron Hubbard. And that's why when I think maybe that's what it triggered in my mind when you was talking about Dionysus, because I think L. Ron Hubbard's book was called Dianetics. Very similar verbiage there. And it was a cult leaning book type book. And I remember those commercials like back in the 80s. I never forget it was like the lava bubbling up. So it always stuck. Yeah, you're right. That it's like those certain things that stick in your mind. That book, you know what I'm saying, the way they advertise is like it was going to solve all your problems. That's the imagery I take away from it. And last but not least is Rob 3000ish came through again. He said buffalo and bison are two different, not related at all. So Rob, which one are in the Americas, buffalo or bison? All right, so let's see here. Do we got any more questions? Okay, McGilly said get a gold star tonight. He said, yes, sir. Technocratic approach to Dionysus. And Nikki Life Changes said, my mom had that book, right? That book was very heavy in the 80s. I remember seeing it on commercials all the time. We got a few more minutes here with Don. Don, while we have and we got some questions. Let me see. They said it's bison in America. Okay, think water buffalo. Got it. We cleared up the bison buffalo scandal. All right, so Don, I appreciate you saying you coming. Let's make sure we do you saying some more promo, because it's very important that we support independent authors like this, independent content creators like myself. It's important that you all support us, because if you don't support us, who will? And just to be honest, and let me pull up. I'm gonna put the link where you can find his YouTube channel and his book. It's coming in hot. So we have the YouTube channel now, which is Worldview Warfare. And any reason why you changed the name? I'm just curious, just out of curiosity.
Well, I just wanted it to be shorter, easier to remember.
Okay. Now I'm just curious. You know what I'm saying? It's I didn't know if you were saying you were going on the offense. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, I mean, when I lay out another aspect of my worldview warfighting architecture, you will see that there is something to fight against what I laid out tonight. So yes.
Okay, and once again, this is the book that can be found on Amazon, and it's titled "An Introduction to the Art and Science of Worldview Warfare." And I see you have the Bitcoin eye there, so I'm curious. Maybe one time you can come back and give us a lesson on crypto through the worldview warfare lens.
Yes, economics, technique. Oh yeah, crypto plays a role.
All right, so Sean M, he says he appreciates the great conversation between us. So many interesting topics were broached. Yes, and I want to say this. This is not us come and give you information type thing. I want this thing to be, giving back, and way you can give back is drop certain, drop links, information in the comments, because I do check the links, I do check the comments, I read all the comments that I can see. YouTube trips on that sometimes. They don't show up all to me, but the ones I can see, I do read. And hey, I get great information for you all. So, make sure you give back information as well as you receive it, and share it with others in the Facts family. Don, got one last thing here, because this popped in my head when you were talking about propaganda and how it used to be illegal for a long time. I think that's the right term, until the 2014 repeal of the Smith-Mundt Act. And this was brought up by McGilla Gorilla, the Gold Star student for tonight. It says, can all the madness be traced back to that? So are you familiar with the Smith-Mundt Act and the repeal of it?
I believe so. I'm not so familiar with that one, but what I am more familiar with, which was something that was taking place. Let me see. Was Obama president 2014?
Yes, that's the one. You're right.
Okay.
You're right on it with the property.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happened under Obama's presidency, and I'm not sure if the Smith-Mundt Act refers to this, but what I'm thinking about is that thing about military operations on domestic soil. There was some sort of law that the military operations cannot be directed towards American citizens, But what the military officials argued was that because of the internet, an information weapon that the U.S. military launches against, say, in the Middle East, it could come back to America because Americans might be able to view it. So they used that as an argument to change the boundaries, to move the boundaries. And so I believe it was, and I don't know if the Smith-Mundt Act does this, but I believe what happened is that now that boundary is not in place anymore, and American military can launch worldview, can engage in worldview war fighting with the American public. Yes, that is scary.
Yeah, and thank you, Uber Trent. He said we're all neurons connecting and sharing information. That's right. And yeah, basically, it was basically where we couldn't be. America couldn't propagandize its own citizens. But it's amazing that you would repeal something like that, and I never really heard any clear justification for why it was repealed or modified in the way it was. So Don, what do you got coming up next? Any new videos? And I say tell people this before you answer my question. Please go subscribe to his YouTube channel. The link is in the live chat. Because he has supplemental videos to the book if you decide to purchase the book, or just go watch them and it might inspire you to buy the book. Once again, I'm dropping his YouTube channel link in the live chat right now for the people watching the playback. But what's next, Don?
So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going through each of those components. I have a video on each of those, and I am at Wicked Deception. That's the one that's going to come out next. Then Revolution. And then after that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start analyzing different case studies. Like tonight we did Manifest Destiny. I'm going to start analyzing other case studies using that architecture, and also introduce the counter to that architecture.
Mm-hmm. So I look forward to it, and I'm gonna tell you now, you're one of the few channels I watched the video multiple times because it's so full of information, and not just unnecessary. It's necessary information, but when the light bulb comes on, it's like, oh wow. Because I remember I hit you up like that, right?
Yes.
I hit you up and I was like, wow, I finally get it, Don. And you're saying it just dawned on me. So one last question, and we can wrap on this one.
Mm-hmm.
And Primordial Soup says, what's your solution?
Yes, my solution is in the counter to this that I presented tonight, which I'm going to be going into on my channel in the future. So yeah, the solution, it is coming. Just stay tuned.
And I would say just being aware of what you identified already is part of the solution, because it makes you become awareness of what's going on around you. Now it's up to you, once you've realized that, what's going on, how you react to it or don't react. Sometimes a reaction is not necessary. So Don, once again, I thank you, brother. You have an open invitation to come back to the platform anytime you would like. Just let me know. And I'm sure the Facts family, will love to have you back, because we got so many great comments and questions from you being here. Appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me, brother. Please support Mo, y'all, as he takes this venture to the next level. Please show him your support.
And to say, you see, I've been getting busy for the Facts family. I told y'all I was gonna come out the gate. I had a lot of great people that want to do these Converse episodes, and I'm trying to just honor the the request and the interest in people that I want to talk to and bring their information here, so you could be privy to it as well. And as Don said, this is a value for value platform. I don't take any money from YouTube. I don't take any money for advertisers. And in the situation that we're in now, it's more important than ever to support. So you can go to www.mofundme.com. That's MOEFUNDME. That's mofundme.com. Or you can just go to mofacts.com and go to the donate page. But we definitely need, all the support we can get to keep this going. And I appreciate you all. I got something special, even more special coming down. Just day after day, it's going to be something on top of the next, on top of the next, on top of the next. And of course, we're going to have Don back. We're going to have Danny Katz back. We're going to have TD back. This has just been this week. It's been crazy of all the cool people that we got to talk to. But, we got to get back in the live and the lost tapes bag too. Got a lot of great products that we're coming with on the communication side. And I got a few products, physical products, that I hope to be able to bring to you soon that, that you will also find the same quality that I put into these shows in. I appreciate that. Keep it coming. Hey, I'm going to keep it coming. And with that said, as I always say, pay attention to everything and the truth reveal itself. Good night.
2, 3.
Elevate your mind. Elevate your mind. Elevate your mind. Elevate your mind. You can do it, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, you can be it, you can be it, you can be it. You can do it, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, you can be it, you can be it, you can be it. Elevate your mind.